So I'm reading more about Greek myth and old myth, and I'm reading actually right now about the Babylonians. And they believed that Ishtar, who was the goddess of like fertility and the goddess of growth and new things and life, that kind of thing, she was also Ishtar was the daughter of Sin, the moon, and Ishtar is Babylonian mythology, like super old. Now, it's interesting to me because Ishtar is very, very much like Persephone in Greek mythology. Now, why do I say this? Because it's the same story, legitimately the same story. All right, you have Ishtar who went down into Hades, the underworld, to go speak to the goddess Hades in this story, in the Babylonian story, and she goes down and she has to go through 7 gates, and when she goes through each gate she has to remove an article of clothing or something that she has on, jewelry or something, so everything gets taken off as she goes through the 7 gates. Now when she gets down to the bottom, what happens is this story is told. Ishtar is going down through the earth into the underworld. When is she doing this though? It's in the summertime, in the midsummer during the solstice. When what's going on in the summer during the solstice is, if you look at it like this, there are 2 kings, okay? There's the winter king and the summer king. So the summer solstice, what's actually happening is the summer king is now handing the winter king his torch, because the winter is going to start taking over and summer is going to come to an end and winter is going to take over. Now the winter solstice is the opposite of that. The winter solstice, what's happening now is the sun is coming back to the northern hemisphere. So basically the sun, if you look at it like a king, is the winter king is now handing the torch to the summer king. So when you have Ishtar dying underground, what that is symbolizing is she's going underground during the summer solstice because she is now going to die. And now that she's going to die, everything above, because as the, a lot of the esoteric teachings, they teach you the 7 hermetic principles, as above, so below. Okay, so as she goes below, everything else begins to die. This is the same story of Persephone. If you look into Greek mythology, same thing. All right, Persephone's mother was Demeter. Demeter lost Persephone. She got lost and she was running around, and then the earth opened up and swallowed her up, and Hades brought her down into the underworld, and everyone looked around. Demeter looked around. Everyone was looking for Persephone because things were starting to die. When she finally was able to come up, Hermes helped Demeter, and they asked Zeus, and they were able to get Persephone back up. But the thing about it was that Persephone had eaten from the tree of life down there. There's a tree of, it's like a tree of life or tree of death, and it's down in the underworld. And when you eat from the tree, you cannot leave the underworld. So they made a deal that Persephone has to go to the underworld every year and live there, but she is allowed up. She is also a metaphor for the spring, because when Persephone comes up from the underworld, everything comes back to life, because she is the goddess of life and fertility and all that stuff. This is where all these stories and ideas come from. The underworld, Hades, hell, it comes from mythology. All of this stuff is super interesting. If you care to read about mythology, I have tons of books. I'm happy to give my book, give titles away. You can buy these books for cheap. You can find them for free a lot of the time. So I highly recommend people read and start learning, because I got to tell you, I'm 39, I think, 38, 39. I think I'm 38. I really don't know. I didn't start really reading until 35, because I was sick of asking questions. Like, I went to Catholic school for 9 years. I'm educated. I have a lot of licenses. I went to school. I'm not a moron, and I'm not saying I'm the smartest person, because I'm not. I'm far from it. I'm probably about average. I just try hard. I read a lot, and I really try. If I don't understand it, I don't just skim over it. I will read it again and again and again. I'll call myself stupid over and over inside my head, but I'll continue to read it until I learn it. And I won't settle at just being able to, oh, I get that. I want to be able to learn it so that I can then teach it, because that is true knowledge. If you know it enough that you can then teach it to somebody else, that is understanding right there. And that's what I try to do. I try to understand everything. And I've said what understanding is. I've given my idea what understanding is. Understanding. It's not my idea. Jordan Maxwell's idea. Understanding means to stand under. And if you want to fix something, if you want to put a bunch of heavy things on the second floor, you got to make sure that second floor can bear the load. So you have to go stand under it, and you have to make sure it can bear the load. You might have to build, you might have to grow, you might have to build, you might have to expand. But I'll tell you what, you have to be able to stand under there for a long time. And that's what understanding is. Being able to listen to new information and stand there underneath the information for a long time and weigh it out. Not just, oh, I don't want to hear this because my pastor told me I can't read that. That's satanic. That's satanic. I'm going to go to hell if I read that. Really? Interesting. You can't read stuff? Do you don't watch movies? You don't listen to music? Because, I'm pretty sure the industry, both of those are pretty horrible. So if you still do that, then by all means, start reading, please, for the love of God. I love you all, and this is for entertainment purposes.